Hi everybody, Ian Bremmer here, and a quick take to kick off your week. I want to talk about the Olympics, which of course is always so much fun. It brings together all these athletes from pretty much every country around the world and all these interesting and different sports that you otherwise don't see, and very cinematic, and everyone's rooting for their favorite folks to succeed, and it's held in different countries all over the world, and here we are in Italy, and everyone thought it was going to be a disaster. They wouldn't be able to organize it well, wouldn't get the infrastructure done in time, but so far it seems to be more or less okay. But the big story, at least from the weekend, was how it's gotten politicized, because most everything gets politicized in this environment. Everyone's seeming to have an opinion about Hunter Hess, who is a freestyle skier, American Olympian, was asked a question in a press conference, and his response about representing the U.S. is that it brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now. I think it's a little hard, he said. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of. Just because I wear the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S. Certainly, I think a lot of people in the country, a lot of people around the world might have sympathy to some of that sentiment. But a lot of people would rather, especially a lot of Americans, would rather that their athletes focus on the athletics and being there and representing the United States and being happy to do that and not focus on any of the negativity. I personally would rather not have politics in the Olympics, even though there have been moments where I've been glad to see it happen, like South Korea and North Koreans participating together, despite the fact that their politics were horrible and the countries were at war. I thought that was super positive, and it made a real difference. I like the ping pong diplomacy between the U.S. and China back in the Nixon days. I'd rather not see people on one side or the other, the athletes especially, who are not necessarily the most capable to be talking about politics. Frankly, I'd rather see celebrities talking a little less about politics. I'd rather see Elon Musk talking less about politics and focusing more on robotics and AI and rocketry, where he's very capable and also really changing the world in an extraordinary way. But if you are going to see him talk about politics, an athlete, my view is I still happen to support that guy. I mean, look, I don't post about my snowboarding, and I think that we're all probably better off and thankful for that. But I do cheer for our athletes pretty much no matter what. And I recognize that there's no room for nuance in this algorithmic tribal environment. But let's also be clear that he didn't say that he hated the United States. He didn't say President Trump is unfit in your view. He didn't bring up Epstein. And what he said was, I think, a response to kind of a no-win question from the media. And the media at the Olympics in the last couple of administrations were not asking questions like this of American athletes. This time around, they did. I think that Hunter probably hasn't had the kind of press training, communications training that, say, a lot of American CEOs have. I mean, when I was at Davos a few weeks ago, and there was a top journalist that asked Jamie Dimon, the JP Morgan CEO, how he thought about the culture of fear that the CEOs are dealing with, and he immediately said, that's a gotcha question, and you're just trying to make a headline out of me, and that's the headline you want. And of course, that's true. I mean, the media does want that headline. They're going to run on that all day long, and what a great story at a time when otherwise they're not making a lot of money, and they don't care what happens to Hunter as a consequence of this. I think everyone would have been better off if he hadn't asked that question to begin with. But once he asked it, I want to give this kid, and he's a young guy, the benefit of the doubt. I mean, look, and at least the president was positive about it, took the high road and rooted for him, even though he wasn't a full-throated flag waver. I'll quote, to all the athletes representing Team USA, I'm so proud of you, the president said. Your talent and your perseverance have brought you to this moment, and I'll be joining Americans from across the country cheering you on. That of course was Obama. It wasn't Trump. Trump, of course, didn't do that. He said he opposed the athlete, was a loser, and it's hard to root for him. And I get it. It is harder as an American to root for an athlete that doesn't say that he supports fully the United States. I mean, it's harder as an American citizen to support a president who said that John McCain isn't a war hero and that he only likes soldiers that weren't captured. But he's still my president, and I would still rather him succeed than fail. Even though it's harder, given the things that he says, it's still actually what I feel, and it still is the way I feel about American athletes, whether I like everything they have to say or not. And I want to be completely clear. I fully support his right to say it, even if I disagree. And that is, of course, something that makes the United States the United States. The countries that have athletes that can't say what they really think and feel scared of saying what they really think, those are not democracies. Those are authoritarian regimes. Those are Russia and China and North Korea and Iran. And there, if you're an athlete, you better be fully supporting the regime, or else something will happen to you, maybe your family. That, of course, we don't have in the US. People could protest. Maybe he'll have problems with some of his sponsors. At the end of the day, he's there representing a country with a diversity of opinions, a diversity of presidents, a diversity of just about everything, and that is not going to change anytime soon. That's it for me, and I'll talk to you all real soon.